everyone, I'm Celeste. Welcome to my YouTube channel. Well, today I have a huge haul of books to welcome in the spring season, so let's get right to it. I have a bunch of novels and nonfiction that I'm hoping to get to this month. First of all, there's one I've already read, and I really enjoyed it. It's Patricia Wentworth's Lonesome Road. And this was recommended by Lil of Lil's Vintage World, and she has read all of the Patricia Wentworth books and is extensive in her knowledge of Patricia Wentworth. And so I decided to start reading one of the titles in the series. I chose Lonesome Road. My understanding is that the first two titles aren't quite as good. This is the third in the Miss Silver books, and I really truly enjoyed it. At first I didn't think I was going to, because it seemed to be moving kind of slowly. It didn't seem like the characters were drawn very well, but then the reading style got really engaging, and it was sort of like watching an old-time movie late at night. Kind of a chilling mystery story, but kind of quaint at the same time. Lonesome Road is about a woman called Rachel Traherne. She's the executor of her father's estate, and she has been chosen to inherit and administer the family estate, and so all of the relatives have sort of come around and are circling the fire and eager to understand the workings of the will and what they're going to inherit. And someone is out to kill Rachel Traherne, but she doesn't know who, so she enlists the help of Maud Silver, who is a retired governess and school teacher. And I had the understanding that Miss Silver was sort of like Miss Marple, and that if you enjoy the Miss Marple books, you would enjoy these. I didn't really find that she was much like Miss Marple, to be honest with you, other than the fact that she's an older lady. I really enjoyed it, and I'm looking forward to another Miss Silver. I think maybe next I'm going to try the Chinese Shawl, which is book number 5. Very light. I read this in 2 sittings, and it kept my interest all the way through. So I do recommend Lonesome Road by Patricia Wentworth. Then the next title I wanted to share with you, I'll give you a little backstory on it. The other night on PBS, I was watching the series Marie Antoinette, and I got so excited about Marie Antoinette's story, and something just clicked inside, and there was that excitement that you feel when you just know you're going to be researching a new topic in nonfiction. And so I've decided to read more about the life of Marie Antoinette. And so I have ordered Marie Antoinette, The Journey by Antonia Fraser. And of course, Antonia Fraser is a very well-known female historian. She's written fantastic biographies of Mary Queen of Scots. I've mentioned that one in a video last fall. And so I'm eager to read her story of the life of Marie Antoinette, who at the age of 14 was sent to marry the future King of France, and he would become King Louis XVI. And, you know, it's the story of her sort of innocence and entering the life of the court and all of the deception and alliances and politics that go on there. And then, you know, of course, delves into the French Revolution. And there's a lot of myths about the life of Marie Antoinette, so this sort of busts some of those myths. And but we'll see how it goes. And then another one I'm not quite sure I'll get to, but I'm really going to try. I know that Miranda Mills, in her Comfort Book Club that she hosts with her mom, in the month of April, they're reading Jane Austen's Sense and Sensibility. And so I am going to try to read along with that. I enjoy Miranda's Comfort Book Club, and I haven't read Sense and Sensibility in ages, and so it just feels like a really nice springy title to read. I do plan on doing a reread of Pride and Prejudice this summer in July probably, but I thought I would give Sense and Sensibility a try as well. We'll see if we get to it in April. If not April, perhaps May. But I am going to try. So there's that. And by the way, I love these editions. These are vintage classics, and I did purchase the entire set of Jane Austen with these lovely covers. So yeah, so Sense and Sensibility. And then two other novels that are on my TBR list. The first is Barbara Pym's Excellent Women. I've never read any Barbara Pym, and I think that, who is it? Kate Howe may be reading this in April for a book club as well. I could be wrong about that, but I think that's correct. Let me know, Kate, if I'm wrong. But it looks delightful. I love the cover illustration. Isn't it beautiful? It's got kind of a chinoiserie feel to it, and yet it's very clean and modern. So I really like the cover design. And as I said, I've never read any Barbara Pym, and I think Excellent Women is probably a good place to start. And then finally, in terms of my novels, I also purchased a copy of The Enchanted April by Elizabeth von Arnim. This is a Virago hardcover edition, and I've been in a little bit of a slump in terms of cabin fever, being tired of winter, really wanting spring to come and looking for something sort of escapist. And a lot of people have recommended this title to me. So I now own this gorgeous, gorgeous edition. We'll see if I get to this one too. This cover design is called Winter Thistle, and it's by Angie Lewin for Liberty. Isn't that beautiful? And just light and springy and really fun. So I'm looking forward to this as well. And then I love a seasonal bedside table, and I love curating books for each season of the year to keep by my bedside. And so I have a really nice selection of those that I've curated to share with you today. And I thought, since it's spring and the robins and the red-winged blackbirds are back, it's a marvelous time to dip into some lovely poetry and art and color and illustration for the flowering season. So I have kind of a theme of gardening that sort of runs throughout the remainder of this video, gardening and art. So the first one is called The Book of the Earthworm by Sally Coulthard. I believe that's how you pronounce the name. Beautiful, colorful cover here. This is kind of like a cardboard or bookboard. It's interesting. It's the design is actually, I think, sort of impregnated into this cover. Impregnated, I don't know. But look at the lovely end paper, nice and bright and cheery. So this is all about earthworms, and Sally Coulthard has a bunch of little books like this. They're really fun. They're light, and you know, it's just facts about earthworms, which seems kind of strange, but when you think about spring, rain, gardening, the soil, etc., etc., it really is relevant. And there's some really neat illustrations in here. It's the parts of the earthworm, and it just gives you all kinds of sort of strange and fun facts about their bodies, about you know, do earthworms have taste buds? Are earthworms medicinal? Can earthworms see? It tells you about these little engineers of the earth, how they provide a food source for wildlife, and how their burrowing helps to take the soaked heavy rain out of the soil, sort of. All kinds of really neat facts. Earthworms in history, like in the Middle Ages, and in art, and it tells you, are they territorial? It answers the age-old question, why do earthworms appear in puddles after a rainstorm and come to the surface? So yeah, this is a really cool little book, and Sally Coulthard has lots of books available, and I look forward to getting a few more as well. But this is my choice for spring. The Book of the Earthworm, Sally Coulthard. I love nature guides, and I love bright colors, and I also love that sort of vintage look of travel poster from the olden days. And so I'm really looking forward to dipping into this one. And this is Brian Cook's Landscapes of Britain. This is a mini guide, and I actually came to know about this book from looking at some old documentaries starring the actress Penelope Keith, and it was a British series about quaint English villages, and she was walking around one of the villages with this guide. And Brian Cook was an illustrator in the 30s, 40s, and 50s who did the dust jacket illustrations for the well-known Batsford guides, Batsford books, and he has painted everything from the Scottish Islands, London markets, farms, the Lake District. He's known for his bright colors, and he's also known for his sort of poster-like prints. Look at this. I mean, it's just sumptuous. I'll show you some more here just to give you an idea of the range of his work. There's another one. Using 4 translucent inks, yellow, magenta, blue, and gray, his process uses hand-engraved rubber-coated plates to layer each color, and as many as 14 different colors can be achieved through painstaking overprinting. And then black ink is used for detail and to finish off each print. Just delightful, and a marvelous, marvelous book for your guest bedroom or for your own bedside table. And then here's a whole new collection of spring-themed mysteries by the Queen of Crime, Agatha Christie. This one is called Sinister Spring. I love Agatha Christie, as you know. I love her short stories. I already own her Midwinter Murder and her Midsummer Murders. This is, I believe, the 3rd hardcover title in a new series by HarperCollins, collecting her short stories seasonally. I'm hoping there's going to be an autumnal volume as well to complete the set. But look at how gorgeous this cover is with the gold foil. And I believe the same mansion appears on each edition. Here's the back, which repeats the design. And then you have to see the end papers. They're just phenomenal. Look how lovely, with the floral design. And it repeats on the back, of course. Now, when I ordered this book, I want to say that I got it from either Blackwell's or Book Depository, and my only little nit is when it arrived, this end paper was curled up, the glue had released, and so it was actually sort of folded back to about halfway. But I do book arts and paper arts, and so luckily I had my my big paper spatula that I use to flatten things down, and I had my archival bookbinding glue, so I was able to repair it. I don't think you can really tell that it was pulled up at all. And this anthology includes the short story Greenshaw's Folly. I love Greenshaw's Folly. I watched the Agatha Christie Marple version of that on TV the other night with my son. And all of these, you know, have the theme of springtime, herb, gardening, poison, flowers, and so thus Sinister Spring. I think it's going to be really enjoyable, and I'm going to start reading this tonight. Another book that I'm really looking forward to dipping into is the Virago Book of Women Gardeners, and this is, of course, by Virago. It's edited by Deborah Kellaway, and this is just sort of a little commonplace book, or little miscellany of quotes and bits of letters and journals and poems and observations about the gardening life by many different women. And it's delightful, and the cover is beautiful. Look at this. And so I've been enjoying this, and it's divided into different thematic sections: visitors and travelers, townswomen, country women, plants women, advisors and designers, weeders and diggers, etc. So this looks like a great title. I was actually able to find this at a bargain store for $4.95, so I think it was a pretty good deal. And it is a nice hardcover. You can't go wrong with Virago books, right? And then in terms of some poetry, I've been collecting the editions edited by Ali Asiri. And so I've got a poem for every autumn day, a poem for every winter day, and now a poem for every spring day, edited by Ali Asiri. Another gorgeous cover. This is a paperback. Some lovely, lovely poetry in here. It goes, of course, for every day of the spring season. And one of my favorites in here is The Song of the Wandering Angus by W.B. Yeats. Yeats is one of my favorite poets. This is the one that goes, "I went out to the hazel wood because a fire was in my head, and cut and peeled a hazel wand and hooked a berry to a thread. And when white moths were on the wing and moth-like stars were flickering out, I dropped the berry in a stream and caught a little silver trout." And it goes on from there. And I remember when I was a teenager listening to this poem by Yeats set to music by the singer Judy Collins. And it's just a lovely rendition of this that she does, The Song of the Wandering Angus. And there are lots of great poems in here, so this would be a great one to add to your spring bedside table as well. So the remainder of the books that I have to share with you today share a kind of a common theme. And I sort of intimated that I was going to do this back in the winter time when I was reading The Long Winter by Laura Ingalls Wilder. And another book I came across at that time was The World of Laura Ingalls Wilder. And this is a book by Marta McDowell. And so I had been reading The Long Winter, and I got curious about the land in the Dakotas and so forth, and Wisconsin, and all the places that Laura Ingalls traveled through, and the flora and the fauna, and what she might have seen, the sorts of trees that were in the big woods, for example, and what kind of wildflowers grew when she lived on the banks of Plum Creek, etc. So I got very interested in Marta McDowell, and I made some notes here about her. Marta McDowell lives, writes, and gardens in New Jersey, and she's written for Women's Day, Country Gardening, the New York Times. She's a regular contributor to the British journal Hortus, which is, I'm presuming, a gardening publication. She teaches landscape history and horticulture at the New York Botanical Garden. She's been a featured speaker in many places, everywhere from the Smithsonian Institute to the Beatrix Potter Society. She appeared in the PBS American Masters Laura Ingalls Wilder Prairie to Page, which I believe I also mentioned on this channel. And she's worked at the Chelsea Physic Garden, and perhaps most impressive of all for me, she was the 2018 Gardener in Residence at the Emily Dickinson Museum. And as a result of her being a gardener in residence at the Emily Dickinson Museum, she ended up writing this book, Emily Dickinson's Gardening Life. And this is just gorgeous. I know I'm saying that about every book that I'm showing you, but they're gorgeous. So this is a really interesting take on the life of Emily Dickinson. It's not the usual poetry biography of her life. It does intersperse her poems in with the photos that are in this book, but this is called The Plants and Places That Inspired the Iconic Poet. So it's kind of like a gardening biography, if that makes any sense. And so here are the end papers of this book. Lovely. It's like a fabric of a dress that Emily might have worn. And so this takes you through the gardening year at the Emily Dickinson house. And this is in Amherst, of course. So it begins in early spring and goes through each season and just talks about all the plants and fruits and flowers that Emily would have seen. So it's kind of like a really interesting little glimpse of Emily Dickinson's everyday life from the viewpoint of a gardener who worked at the estate. And that in combination with Emily Dickinson's poetry is just charming, and I think it's another lovely addition for your bedside table. And then I also got a used library copy of Marta McDowell's Beatrix Potter's Gardening Life, The Plants and Places That Inspired the Classic Children's Tales. This one is equally beautiful, equally fascinating. It has chapters like Setting Seed. It's full of Emily Dickinson's watercolors and sketches. This one in particular, this is the garden at Lakefield. This is a watercolor with pen and ink about 1900. There's that. And then I marked just one or two others to show you. There's some fabulous photographs of the garden in spring and summer. Might be a little hard to see with my light, but I'll hold it up there. And all kinds of photographs of her at Hilltop and how she came to write, of course, Peter Rabbit and the other tales. Her first unofficial engagement to Mr. Warren, and then her subsequent engagement and marriage. And then as well, here's a descendant in the Hilltop Garden. So it's just a charming introduction to the life of Beatrix Potter. I love Beatrix Potter, and spring is, of course, a lovely time to learn about her life story. So be sure to check this one out as well. And finally, another book by Marta McDowell, which I bought brand spanking new because I did have a gift card to Barnes & Noble that I hadn't used. And that is Unearthing the Secret Garden. And this is The Plants and Places That Inspired Frances Hodgson Burnett. So this is the last one in the Marta McDowell series that I own. Again, this is just a charming, charming book. It's got all kinds of lovely photographs in it. Here is Frances posing in the shade of her rose arch with a basket of delphinium. This tells Frances Hodgson Burnett's life story, and it's got the same sort of chart in the back here that tells about all the trees, flowers, fruits, and plants that she would have known and that she gardened. It's got some great black and white photographs, double-page spreads, and I learned a lot about Frances Hodgson Burnett's life, and it also links it in to the story The Secret Garden. And of course, The Secret Garden is a fantastic book to read in the springtime. a story of resilience and love and magic and thriving, I would say. So I've been enjoying actually also rereading The Secret Garden. I haven't read it since I was a little girl. I did reread A Little Princess and Sarah Crewe earlier this year, so I thought I would also read The Secret Garden, given that it's about to be April. And this edition I found also at a thrift store. This one has lovely illustrations by Graham Rust, I think his name is. So I'll just show you some illustrations from that. And additionally, at a library sale, I found this. This was kind of unusual. I found one for The Secret Garden and one for Pride and Prejudice, and they were selling for $1 each. This is called Classics Unfolded, and so it's a concerto folded accordion book, which just gives you the really basic facts about the life of the author, and then the list of characters of The Secret Garden, and then it just gives you like, this is called The Secret Garden in 30 Seconds. So it's just lovely. There's the characters there. Of course, Mary Lennox, Colin, Dickon, and so forth. And when you open it up, each panel tells you a part of the story. And then if you turn it over, it continues on the other side. I think it is spectacular. Well, that's everything I have for today. I know it's been a lot. Thanks for sticking with me. I will have an update next week for you on my roundup for the month of March, ending Cinemarch, what I read, some more plans for April, May, and beyond. And now I'm going to get out there and take a walk. It looks like we may have a little bit of spring rain soon, so I want to scoot on out and get my steps in. But I'll see you again real soon. Bye-bye.